lost 2 inches over time. We all shrink a little bit over time, but not 2 inches. And what is happening is the bone in my leg is riding up into the hip area with nothing holding it together. So it's very painful to stand here for any length of time or to sit still for any length of time. But you know what? I am blessed to be the person that I am, and I would not trade it for anything. I'm proud to share that with you, pain or not, funny looking or not, marshmallow or not. I'm proud to be able to share who I am today. That's the most important. The way I've learned the most important stuff about myself is meeting you for the first time. Meeting people for the first time. I want to share some of the stories with you. One thing happened earlier today. Somebody very kindly asked me, can I shake your hand? How do I approach you? I said, come on over. I'll show you. I've had that often in my life. People will ask, or they won't ask, or they'll be afraid, or they will avoid it completely. Got a job at a TV station mid-career, and one of the salespeople that I worked with, his name is Bob. He's one of the best friends I have now, but he would start his day off every morning in the sales office, all 12 of us together. He would start his day off every morning walking around shaking everybody's hand. He would show up late to make sure everybody was already there, but his way to get himself energized for the day would come up and put his hand out and say, good morning Tom, good morning Sue, good morning John. First day he comes around the table and he had heard I was coming, he heard I looked a little different, but he didn't really know what that meant. And he walked around my cube and put his hand out and said, good morning John, I'm Bob. He put his hand out flat, and he didn't know what to do, and he didn't want to pull it back, and he didn't want to go all the way in, and he just put his hand out flat. And when I shake arms, I will put my arm in the middle of your palm, and I'll embrace you back, hoping you'll understand to squeeze just like a regular handshake would be. But he put his hand out flat and he didn't know what to do, and I sort of shook his arm, and he moved on about his day. We did this 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. He would come over, he didn't know what to do, he put his hand out, and he was uncomfortable, but he knew he wanted to try. Finally, after a certain period of time, I said, Bob, come here. You need to come right over here. What? He's all got this big nervous look. Did I do something wrong? I said, no, you didn't. Come over here. I want to greet you the way I want to be greeted. Put your hand out. And he put his hand out, and I put my arm in his palm. He didn't do anything, and I finally said, Bob, squeeze the end of my arm like you care. Big smile went across his face. Is that okay? I said, it's more than okay. I want you to do that. And so he did, and he squeezed, and he had this big smile on his face. Eventually, he started to introduce me to some of his other clients. And he wouldn't introduce me as John Robinson. He would introduce me as John. You need to squeeze his hand. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. He would literally torment his clients until they squeezed my arm. Forget their comfort zone. He comes back to the sales office one day a couple of years later, and he comes running into the sales office. John, guess what I just did? I just met somebody new, and I shook their hand. Good for you, Bob. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I put my hand out, and his arm ended up looking like yours. And I remember what you said. I didn't stop. I went right in for the firm squeeze. And he smiled. And I got the sale. I said, yeah, Bob, I know. Forget about the sale for a minute. You made a new friend. You showed him you understand. Meeting people for the first time. It's different in each and every scenario wherever we are. I want to take you back to college again, bounce around a little bit. How many of you have a friend that can get you to do something that you shouldn't do? Raise your hand. Okay, stop looking and outing that person right now. College again, my friend's name is Rob. Rob has an amazing ability to get me to do something he shouldn't do. I could tell an hour's worth of stories just about Rob, but I'm only going to tell you one. Rob comes to me at the end of sophomore year in college, and he says, John, my parents have asked me to invite some of the 6 guys that I talk about an awful lot, and I talk about you quite a bit. I'm like, oh boy, this kid's going to be good. He goes, I really want to invite you and these other guys to our summer house on Cape Cod for a weekend this July. Would you be one of the six guys? I'd be honored if you'd meet my parents and my family. Yeah, I would love to do that. Great, he says. We're going to go swimming in the ocean. We're going to play wiffle ball. We're going to go golfing. We're going to barbecue. We're going to have a wonderful time. I heard swimming. Reason is because I spent my high school years in New Hampshire. My parents, every weekend in the summer for 4 years, would take me out to Hampton Beach in New Hampshire. One of my favorite things to do is get up in the ocean water, up to my neck, and let the waves throw me around any which way. I'm like a bobber on the water. Who knows where I'm going? No arms, no legs, you're not stopping me. I absolutely love it. But when you're in New Hampshire in the water, it's freezing cold. And I heard that Cape Cod was a little bit warmer. So I'm like, Rob, I would love to do that. That'd be great. So he goes, wonderful. Here's when we're going to meet. And we met. We get there to Rob's summer house on Cape Cod, and 6 guys get out of the car, and we go into the kitchen and throw our bags down and go to the refrigerator to get something to eat. And there's a note on the fridge that says, no, come on down. We're already down at the ocean. Meet us down there, guys. So we do. We grab our towels, and we head down to the beach where Rob's parents are. Now, 6 late teenagers. Do you think we say anything to Rob's parents as we walk right by them? No chance. We haven't said hello to them at all. We walk right by Rob's parents, get right into the ocean, and it's wonderful. This is great. I now have tuned everything else out. I'm up to my neck in the ocean. It's warmer than New Hampshire. I can't believe it. It's great. I'm letting the waves throw me around every which way. I'm not paying attention to anything else that's going on. Except all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye and ear, I hear Rob say, yeah, guys, that's what we need to do. Get in a semicircle. And I realize Rob's talking about me, and I look up at him and I said, what are you going to do? Guy, he ignores me. Guys, get in that semicircle. I want you to each grab a corner of John, float him on his back. We're going to throw him as high in the air as possible. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Before I know it, I'm in midair, 6 feet off the waterline. Splash. This is great, guys. He goes, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. They throw me in the air for 25 minutes. Higher, higher, higher. At the end of 25 minutes, I am so thirsty, all I've had to drink is salt water. I've got to get out. And I go up to Rob's parents to get a drink, who I haven't met yet, whose faces are like this. Are you okay? And the lifeguard comes running over and says, are you okay? Do you want me to get them to stop? Where were we 25 minutes ago? Now, you know, and I know. Rob said something to his parents before I arrived, right? Hey, John looks a little bit different. Don't stare. Welcome him. But you also know a little bit different means something a little different to each and every one of us, doesn't it? Right? You also know that we must have been comfortable with ourselves because they didn't come running and stop us. The lifeguard didn't stop us from what we were doing. We were comfortable with who we are, happy with who we are, and love each other. We weren't going to hurt ourselves. But meeting people for the first time is different in each and every scenario that I encounter. The best way I've learned about myself are through the eyes of a 5-year-old child. How many of you have been around a 5-year-old in your life? Raise your hand. 5-year-olds will say and do anything that comes to mind. Look at the little man, Mommy. Ooh, the man has no hands, Mommy. Why does he have no hands, Mommy? And they run and jump and tackle and grab, and I'm the long-lost stuffed animal that actually moves. Truth of the matter is, though, when the 5-year-old says, why are you so small? The 15-year-old in high school is thinking it, aren't they? The 25-year-old out of college is thinking it, aren't they? The 55-year-old that I'm friends with in church is thinking about it. It's just we stop ourselves from asking those important questions. When we could learn so much from each other if we would be willing to ask the question and get the answer. And it would be great for me to be able to answer honestly about how do you shake a hand and why it does matter. Now, I haven't always been perfect. I have had some fun with it over the years. In high school, I used to be at the end of the haunted house all the time and ketchup all over my arms and legs around the corner saying, "Boo!" Or on a busy city street in Toronto, Ontario, a young boy came up to pick on me, and my wife and I are newly in our relationship, and this young boy comes over to pick on me, and I didn't really know what to do. I stood there very still, and he's really being bad to me, and I finally turned to him and I said, "It's because I didn't eat my vegetables." You know he went home and ate his Brussels sprouts that night. You can't do that. You have to be as open and honest and forthcoming as you possibly can. Because the more we can be open about who we are, the more approachable we can be in any scenario, and that's where it gets to business, doesn't it? Because you're hiring people that look different than you all the time. Maybe it's not as stark or dramatic as me. Maybe it is. But The more we can be open about who and what we are and who and what we're looking for, the better it is we'll be. Meeting people for the first time. It's led to the very most important lesson in my life. And it's this. Am I facing an obstacle or an opportunity? Is it an obstacle that the world looks at me different when I'm on that beach with my friends or when I'm in a job interview with you? Or is it an opportunity to prove to you that I have something to say, I have something to offer? I choose to look at it as the opportunity. Right? If you remember one thing from my talk today, I hope it's this moment. Oftentimes, opportunities are disguised as challenges. Oftentimes, opportunities are disguised as challenges. Everybody in this room right now, you're being very kind and you're listening. But you are also thinking about something else that's bothering you. You're thinking about the projects that you left at work, the projects that you have at home. You're thinking about 503 and the regulations. You're thinking about all these things going on in your head right now. Oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? And I'm saying to you, if you can start to look at it as an opportunity, you can start to turn around the mindset that you have in your mind. You can start to see yourself as your friends see you. You'll start to see what's there in front of you and your business moving forward. Why do I know this? Why do I preach this? Why is this so important to me? Because for the longest time when I looked in the mirror, all I saw was, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? But you know what? I have been able to do that, and I've learned. What are some of the obstacles or opportunities that you might be thinking about as you're looking at me? The first one is driving. I drive a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. I love my pickup truck. I love watching you watch me get in and out of my pickup truck. I have had some fun with it. Pull up the stoplights, unroll the windows, and say, "Look, no hands." You'd be very surprised how fast people get away from me. When I was 5 years old, my mom turns to me. Now, mind you, I can't dress myself. I can't feed myself. My arms barely come together to hold an object this size because my shoulders haven't loosened up yet. But when I was 5 years old, my mom turned to me and she said, "John, when you're 16, we're going to buy you a car." What did she do right there? Yep, she gave me a goal. She gave me a dream. So when I turned 16, guess what I said? "Hey, Mom." She goes, "I know, John." And so they did. They found a driver's ed teacher willing to teach me to drive. They installed hand controls into her car, and she gave me her car. And I learned to drive. And driving ended up becoming the single most important, not obstacle, but opportunity. It wasn't an obstacle that I couldn't ride a bicycle, or that I couldn't run as fast as my friends, or that I was worried about how was I going to get around. It became an opportunity to prove to myself, you know what, I can go to whatever university I want to and not worry about can I get to class. And I can go get a job. And I can be mobile. Driving was the single most important opportunity in my youth, not obstacle. The next one is, as you're looking at me dressing, put your elbows together for me for a moment. Can you put your elbows together? Could you unbutton the button on your pants? Unbutton your belt? Unbuckle your belt? Could you do up your tie? For the longest time, I couldn't figure that out either. But you know what? Through a series of events, I realized how to do it. Instead of a button on the pants, it's Velcro that's on the outside of the waistband of my pants. Instead of buttons on their own, I have a button hooker that I carry all around with me. And to be able to hook up the buttons in my shirt. It takes me 30 minutes if I want to get dressed every morning to look like I do right now. 30 minutes each and every morning to get dressed. If I want to wear a tie, it takes me an additional 15 minutes. 45 minutes to get dressed each and every morning. But is it worth it to me? Yes. Because I want to be seen as the equal of you. I want to be seen as I want to be seen. It's very important. Dressing has turned into be a great opportunity to prove to me that I can overcome any challenge personally that's in my life. I can figure it out. I can problem solve. Problem solving is a very important key. I'm sure you've heard about it in this conference. One of the great abilities that people with disabilities have is they are built-in problem solvers. And it's one of the things that I learned